I was banned from my own sister's wedding for being too ordinary compared to her friends. 2 months later, I discovered my company was considering acquiring the groom's company for $20 million. And I was the one who had to approve the deal. Ethan, honey, can you listen to me for a second? Amanda's wedding is going to be, well, rather lavish. Her friends, they're a different crowd. You know. Perhaps it's best if you don't come. Those words echoed in my head as I stood by my Boston apartment window, looking out at the skyscrapers and the fading morning fog. The coffee cup in my hand was still hot, but a chill had spread from my chest to my fingertips. How could one phone call shatter every illusion of family I'd painstakingly maintained for 32 years? Have you ever been rejected by the very people who are supposed to love you unconditionally? What if they knew that the person they were trying to cast aside actually held the fate of the person they were trying to impress in their hands? My name is Ethan Mitchell. I'm 32, live in Boston, and co-founded a medical software company called Heal Tech. Yes, we're a unicorn in the tech industry, valued at over $1 billion, but I never told my family. Why? Maybe because I wanted to be loved for who I am, not for my bank account. Every morning, I wake up in my simple but comfortable apartment in Back Bay. Not a penthouse. No supercars. No Rolex. I take the T to work, carrying my home-brewed coffee. Lunches at the office with colleagues, sometimes a sandwich from Joe's Deli nearby. I don't flaunt my success. Probably because of how I was raised. Son, nobody likes a show-off, my father used to say. Maybe I learned that lesson too well. I'm the older child in the Mitchell family. My sister, Amanda, is 3 years younger. Growing up, she was always the center of attention, beautiful, outgoing, and had potential, as my parents often said. I was the opposite, quiet, preferring books and computers to parties and sports. That doesn't mean I wasn't successful, just successful in a different way, a way my family never quite understood. Amanda works in fashion in New York. She wasn't a designer or creative director or anything, she was actually a mid-level assistant at a fashion magazine. But the way she talked about her job, you'd think she was the next Anna Wintour. And my parents bought it. They'd frame magazine pages where Amanda's name appeared in the tiny print of the production team, as if it were a cover she'd designed herself. I wasn't jealous. Really, I wasn't. I just wanted them to see me. Truly see me. But I was used to being overlooked. When Amanda graduated high school, my parents threw a huge party. When I got into MIT on a full scholarship. Oh, that's nice, Ethan. Can you pass the salt? Then Amanda decided to pursue fashion at a prestigious school in New York. With sky-high tuition. My parents couldn't afford it. And that's when I, with my newly successful startup, quietly paid her entire tuition. $120,000. Amanda never knew. My parents, they thought it was a scholarship. I didn't want them to feel embarrassed, so I said I helped her apply for scholarships. Technically not a lie, I did fill out the application for her, the tuition payment form. Then came my father's heart attack 3 years ago. Their health insurance didn't cover everything. I paid $75,000 in medical bills. A patient assistance program, I told them. It was a real program, I was just the sole contributor, and my father was the sole beneficiary. When my parents wanted to move to a better neighborhood in a Philadelphia suburb but couldn't afford the down payment, I transferred $50,000 into their account, saying it was from Dad's early retirement fund. I never asked for recognition. Never mentioned the money. Maybe that was my mistake. Maybe if they knew, they would have treated me differently. But I wanted their love to come from the heart, not from my wallet. Over the past 5 years, I've quietly supported my family with over $250,000. No one knew. And I never wanted them to know. Until that call. Ethan, Amanda's getting married, my mother announced, her voice bubbling with excitement. To James Parker, he's the CEO of a tech company in New York. His family is very wealthy, and the wedding will be at Martha's Vineyard. So many important people will be there. That's great, I said, genuinely happy for my sister. I'll make arrangements to be there. It's good timing for me to take a few days off. A moment of silence on the line. Then my mother cleared her throat. About that. Ethan, honey. The wedding is going to be very upscale. All business people, models, and designers. James is very image conscious and, well, you don't really fit in with that crowd. I stood there. Phone pressed to my ear, feeling like I'd just been slapped. What are you talking about, Mom? I'm the bride's brother. We know that, but Amanda's worried that your job, what you do with computers, won't impress James's family. They're very sophisticated people, and James has done so many big things in tech. I gripped the phone tighter. So you and Amanda want me to skip my own sister's wedding? Because I'm not fancy enough for them. Ethan, don't say it like that, my mother said, a hint of pleading in her voice. It's just one wedding. You know Amanda always wants everything to be perfect. And we don't want you to feel uncomfortable. I closed my eyes, trying to control my anger. Sorry, Mom, I have a meeting. I'll call you back. I hung up before she could reply. Standing by the window, looking out at Boston, I felt like I'd been stabbed in the heart. 32 years of being a good son, a good brother. Supporting my family silently and unconditionally, and this is how they treat me. That night, I opened my laptop and checked my wire transfers from the past 5 years. $253,847.29. That was the exact amount I had quietly given my family. Not a single thank you. Not a shred of recognition. Just because they were family. And that's what family does for each other, or at least what I thought family did. I clicked on Manage Automatic Payments and started canceling them, one by one. Amanda's final semester tuition. Cancelled. The monthly mortgage payment for my parents' house. Cancelled. The family's emergency medical fund. Cancelled. And the wedding gift I had secretly prepared, a trip around Europe for Amanda and James. I opened the email from the travel agent and clicked Cancel Booking. Maybe my family was right. I didn't belong at that wedding. I didn't belong with them. That was the last night I thought of myself as part of the Mitchell family. 2 weeks later, I got a text from Amanda, Ethan. I need to talk to you about my final semester tuition. The school said the scholarship was canceled. I didn't reply. 3 days later, my mother called. Ethan, there's a problem with the mortgage. The bank says we're overdue on a payment. I didn't reply. A week before the wedding, I received an email from Alex Rodriguez, our company's CEO. Ethan, we need to talk about acquiring Visionary Tech. I want you to evaluate this deal. $20 million is not a small sum. We need to be sure their tech is worth that much. I opened the attached file and felt like the world had just stopped. Visionary Tech, a small startup specializing in healthcare apps. CEO, James Parker. James Parker, Amanda's future husband. And now, his future was in my hands. Do you ever wonder how the universe can create such ironic situations? Or is it just life's way of reminding us that no secret stays hidden forever? As I read James's company profile, a cold feeling spread through me. Not anger or jealousy, but a profound realization. It was time for everyone to know who I really was. I won't lie to you, for a fleeting moment of weakness, I thought about rejecting the deal outright. Not out of revenge, but out of hurt. But I'd built my career on integrity. I wouldn't let it be destroyed by fleeting emotions. It was time for my world and my family's world to collide. And I wasn't sure if any of us were ready for the impact. I remember that morning vividly, leaving my apartment for the office. The Boston sky hung heavy with gray clouds, as if waiting to witness the impending drama. The clock read 7:30 a.m. But my mind was already racing. The preliminary assessment of Visionary Tech was in my briefcase, a document I'd stayed up all night analyzing. The truth was, Visionary Tech wasn't bad. But they weren't worth $20 million either. Maybe $5 million, $8 million tops if we really needed their technology. But $20 million? Someone had inflated that number, and I had a hunch James Parker, with his connections, was behind it. I walked into the Heel Tech office downtown, a modern workspace with floor-to-ceiling glass windows overlooking Boston Harbor. Employees smiled and greeted me as I passed. They respected me here. They saw me for who I truly was. Ethan, you're in early, Maria, my assistant, said as I walked past her desk. Lot to get done today, I replied, trying to keep my voice normal. The Visionary Tech meeting is still on for 10, right? Yes. And Alex wants to see you beforehand, around 9:30? I nodded and continued to my office. I had just sat down when my phone rang. Amanda. For the third time this week. I let it ring. This time, my sister left a voicemail, Ethan. I know you're avoiding me. But this is urgent. My wedding, there's a huge problem. The venue is demanding the full deposit by Friday, or they'll cancel. I don't know what to do. I thought you said you took care of this as a wedding gift. Please call me back. I shook my head, a bitter taste rising. So typical of Amanda, not a word of apology for cutting me from the guest list, just asking for money when she needed it. I turned off my phone and opened my laptop. Time to focus on real work. The meeting with Alex was quick. He trusted my judgment and agreed that $20 million was too high. We need an independent valuation, I proposed, trying to sound as professional as possible. I want to hire a third party to assess visionary tech's true worth. You don't trust the numbers they provided? Alex asked, sipping his coffee. I think there's something off, I said, choosing my words carefully. Their reported total revenue doesn't match their actual customer base. And their growth rate is too good, too perfect. Alex nodded. All right. Hire the assessment team and report back to me. But make it quick, a lot of people are pushing for this deal. When I got back to my office, I had 2 more missed calls from my mother and 1 from an unknown number. I ignored them all. It wasn't until nearly noon that Maria knocked on my door, looking worried. Ethan, there are some people waiting for you in reception. They say they're your family and really need to see you. I told them you were in a meeting, but they insisted on waiting. My stomach tightened. Who are they, Maria? A young woman, I think it's your sister. And a man with her. Amanda and James. This was going to be interesting. I took a deep breath, adjusted my tie, and walked out to the reception area. Amanda was standing there, wearing an expensive Versace dress I was sure she couldn't afford. Beside her was a young man in a navy suit, his hair perfectly slicked back. James Parker, the tech entrepreneur my family thought was the bright future of the industry. Ethan. Amanda rushed towards me, looking relieved. Finally. You weren't answering your phone, I was going crazy. I kept my distance, smiling politely. Amanda. What a surprise. I'm very busy. This is James, she said, pulling her future groom closer. Honey, this is my brother, Ethan. James Parker smiled and extended his hand. Great to meet you. Amanda's told me a lot about you. I shook his hand politely, wondering what Amanda had told him. That I was just some mediocre tech guy. That I wasn't fancy enough for their wedding. Come into my office, I said, leading them down the hall. Employees watched us with curiosity. It wasn't every day I had personal guests at the office. When we were inside, Amanda gasped at the stunning city view from my office window. She turned to James, then looked back at me. A little confused. Ethan, this office. What do you do here? I invited them to sit down before answering. I'm the CTO and co-founder of Heel Tech. This is my company. James suddenly went pale. Clearly, the name Heel Tech wasn't unfamiliar to him. Amanda, on the other hand, looked completely bewildered. Ethan. I don't understand. You always said you worked with computers. And that's true, I said, my voice calm. I work with computers. I just didn't go into detail because no one in the family ever really cared. I shifted my attention to James, who was struggling to maintain his composure. But I think you know what Heel Tech is, don't you, James? James swallowed hard. Heel Tech, you guys are one of the leading medical software companies. I had no idea you were one of the people deciding whether Heel Tech acquires visionary tech for $20 million. I finished his sentence for him. Amanda shot up. What? Ethan, what are you talking about? I kept my tone professional. My company is considering acquiring James's startup. A $20 million deal. And I'm the one who has to decide if it's a worthwhile investment. The room fell into a heavy silence. Amanda looked from me to James, then back to me. As if she'd just stepped into a parallel universe. So that's why my sister didn't want me at her wedding? I asked, my voice calm but loaded with meaning. Afraid I'd embarrass her in front of the powerful guests. In front of James and his family. Amanda sat down, her face flushed with shame. Ethan. I didn't know. Mom said. Don't blame Mom. I said. We both know who made the decision. James cleared his throat, trying to regain his composure. Ethan, I swear I didn't know who you were. Amanda just said her brother worked in IT. Some small office job. And that made you decide I wasn't good enough to be at my own sister's wedding? I asked, my voice cold. James shook his head vigorously. No, that's not it. It was. My family, they're very particular about image and connections. Ah, so that's what it is, I nodded. Image. Connections. Superficial things. Amanda started to cry. Ethan. Can we talk about the wedding? The venue is threatening to cancel. They said the final deposit wasn't paid. I looked at my sister, who had excluded me from one of the most important days of her life. Now begging me to salvage the situation. I canceled all payments related to your wedding, I said bluntly. The deposit, the florist, the band, the cocktail party. Everything I promised to cover as a wedding gift. But why? Amanda choked out, tears streaming down her face. Just because of a little misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? I shook my head. You called telling your brother he's not allowed at your wedding because he's not good enough. A little misunderstanding. James looked like he wanted to disappear into the wallpaper. I really didn't know about this. Really, James? I looked him straight in the eye. So, did you know about the visionary tech deal? I opened a folder on my desk. Because our independent assessment team suggests no more than $7 million. They also pointed out serious issues in your business model and security vulnerabilities in your main product. James looked like he'd been punched in the gut. Amanda looked between us. Utterly confused. Ethan, is this some kind of revenge? I looked at my sister with genuine surprise. Revenge? No, Amanda, this is called being professional. I'm doing my job, evaluating a potential investment based on its true value. But, if the deal doesn't go through, our wedding. Amanda stammered. So that's why you're here, I nodded. Suddenly understanding. You didn't come to apologize. You came to make sure the deal goes through, so James can become a millionaire and you can have your dream wedding. No. Amanda protested. But her eyes wouldn't meet mine. I don't understand why you're doing this to me. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at Boston for a moment before turning back. Amanda. Do you know how much money I've quietly given our family over the past 5 years? She shook her head, looking confused. $253,847.29, I said. Your college tuition. I paid it. The down payment on Mom and Dad's house. I paid it. Dad's hospital bills 2 years ago. I paid them. All disguised as scholarship sport assistance funds because I didn't want you to feel like you were taking charity. Amanda looked like she'd been struck by lightning. No, that can't be. Mom said it was. It was me, I affirmed. I was always there, supporting everyone, never asking for recognition or thanks. And this is how the family treats me, excluding me from an important event because I don't fit that image. James sat in silence, his face etched with remorse. Finally, he spoke. I didn't know. I honestly didn't know. And about your company, James, I continued, Heal Tech will not be investing $20 million. Not for personal reasons, but because it's a bad business decision. However, I paused, considering my words carefully. This was the moment I could completely sever ties with my family, or find a new path. However, your core technology has potential. With the right guidance and resources, it could develop into a valuable product. I will recommend a $2 million investment for a 30% stake, with conditions. James looked up. A glimmer of hope in his eyes. What conditions? You have to actually work to improve the product. No selling the company and walking away. You'll work under the supervision of our development team for at least 2 years. No inflated CEO salary, no ridiculous perks. Just real work. James nodded slowly, seemingly considering the offer. That's fair. Actually, more than fair, considering the situation. Amanda looked at me, tears still on her face. What about the wedding? I sighed. Amanda, I'm not your personal ATM. I no longer feel obligated to pay for the things you want. I understand, she said quietly, looking at the floor. I'm sorry, Ethan. I really didn't know about everything you'd done. I was so selfish. Yes, I nodded. You were. A long silence stretched between us. But, I said after a moment, I'm still your brother. And no matter how you've treated me, I still want you to be happy. I opened my desk drawer and took out a check. Here's $20,000. Not to save your lavish wedding, but so you and James can have a small, intimate ceremony with people who genuinely care about you, not people you're trying to impress. Amanda looked at the check, then at me, fresh tears welling up. Ethan. And of course. I'll be there, I added. If you still want me to come. Amanda stood up and threw her arms around me, sobbing into my shoulder. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. 1 year later. I sat in my office, reviewing the latest quarterly report from Helteka's visionary division. Not bad. James had proven to be a good product developer when he actually focused on the work instead of PR and hype. Their health tracking app had seen a 200% user growth in the past year. There was a soft knock on the door, and Maria poked her head in. Ethan, your parents are here. I nodded. Send them in. My parents walked into my office. Looking older than the last time I'd seen them. Amanda and James's scaled-down wedding 6 months ago was the first time we'd met since the incident. It had been a simple but beautiful ceremony at a small church in Boston, with about 50 guests, the people who truly mattered. Ethan, my mother said, her voice trembling. Thank you for agreeing to see us. I invited them to sit. What did you want to talk about? My father looked uncomfortable, as if he were about to do something incredibly difficult. We wanted to apologize, Ethan. Truly apologize. Not just about Amanda's wedding, but about everything. The way we've treated you all these years. My mother took my hand. You know. When we saw you in this office, saw what you built, how everyone respected you, we realized how wrong we'd been. We didn't see you, didn't truly see you. I looked at them. Feeling an old ache begin to fade. You know, Mom, Dad, I wasn't angry because you didn't know about my success. I was angry because even when you thought I was just some mediocre IT guy, you still didn't think I deserved to be part of the family's important moments. My father nodded, his eyes glistening. I know. And that was an unforgivable mistake. We were too focused on things that don't matter, status, appearances, impressing others. We lost sight of what truly matters. I didn't ask for recognition for what I did, I said. I just wanted to be respected as a member of the family, regardless of who I was or what I did. My mother nodded, tears rolling down her cheeks. We know that now. And we promise to do better. If you'll give us a chance. I looked out the window for a moment, thinking about my journey. About the pain, the hurt, but also about the growth I'd achieved. I can't go back to the way things were. I said finally. But I'm willing to start something new. A relationship based on mutual respect, not obligation or expectation. My parents smiled through their tears. And for the first time in years, I felt that maybe, just maybe, we could build a real family. Sometimes, life's hardest lessons are the most valuable. I learned that my worth isn't in what I can provide for others, but in who I truly am. I learned that real love doesn't come with conditions, doesn't demand you change to be worthy of it. And most importantly, I learned that sometimes, you have to stand up for yourself before others can see you as worthy of respect. Family isn't just about the people who share your blood. Family is about the people who see you, truly see you, and still love you. Not for what you do for them, but simply because you are you. And sometimes, rebuilding family means tearing down the old foundations and starting over, with new rules, new boundaries, and new respect. That's the lesson I, Ethan Mitchell, learned the hard way. And I'll never forget it. What about you? Have you ever had to stand up for yourself, even if it meant confronting those you love? What's your story? Thanks for listening to mine. Remember, sometimes, the hardest decision, the one that puts your self-respect first, is the very decision that opens the door to the truest love.